Hi, my name is Julianne and I'm going to be teaching you about plant identification and dichotomous keys. A dichotomous key is a tool used in the biological sciences which will allow amateurs, meaning people like you and me, to identify an organism. It's basically a set of questions with two possible answers, that's why it's called dichotomous, which will allow you to figure out the species that an organism is. Even though they can be used by amateurs, dichotomous keys do sometimes require a little bit of knowledge of terminology, so keep that in mind. The field guide that I'm going to show you in this video is the Newcomb's Wildflower Guide. This is a field guide that has a dichotomous key in it. Before you get into the dichotomous key part of this field guide, it does ask you a few questions about basic observations about the plant. So you're going to answer those, and then it's going to tell you your starting point in the field guide. This is a common feature, although not always present, in field guides like this because it allows you to make the dichotomous key part of the guide a little shorter by narrowing down the possible species.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and walk you through the identification of this flower here. So if you open up your Newcomb's guide and open it to the very first page right here, you're going to see the 3 questions we need to answer to determine where to start in our key. So the first question is flower type. So flowers are either going to be radially symmetrical, which means that in any direction you cut them, you will have 2 symmetrical halves, or they're going to be bilaterally symmetrical, which means that there's only one direction in which you can cut them that will give you 2 equal halves. So this flower, as you can tell, is radially symmetrical, and after you determine that, you need to determine how many parts the flower has. For this Newcomb's guide, the way you're going to determine how many parts the flower has is by counting the petals. So as you can see here, flower has 5 parts. Alright, so the second question in your Newcomb's guide is going to be plant type. So the plant is either a wildflower, a shrub, or a vine. Our plant here is a wildflower. And for the wildflowers, you need to determine what type of leaves it has. So no leaves would be just the flower not having any leaves. Basal leaves only means that the leaves come off from the base of the plant, like in this image right here. Alternate leaves, it means that the leaves come off from, only one leaf comes off from the stem at each point, and they are in alternating directions. Opposite and whorled leaves mean that more than one leaf can come up the stem at each point. So it's hard to tell here, and I know I'm probably not going to be able to show you because this camera's not focusing on the plant very well, but this plant actually has alternate leaves. The third question in the Newcomb's guide down here is leaf type. So obviously you have the choice for no leaves again. Then you have entire, toothed or lobed, or divided leaves. So entire leaves are when the leaf margins, meaning the leaf edges, like right here, are completely straight, like this leaf, and there's no indentations. Toothed or lobed leaves mean that there are indentations, such as on this leaf, little teeth in the leaf. And if the leaves are very deeply lobed, or there are multiple leaflets, those leaves would be divided. So these leaves on our plant here are divided, and I'm going to show you some pictures. So these are some examples of entire leaves where the margin of the leaf is completely flat. These are some toothed leaves. These are lobed leaves where they're divided into different sections, but it's still all in the same leaf. And then down here, there are some divided leaves. So you can see they're divided into multiple leaflets. So now that we have answered those questions, we get the number 5, 3, and 4. So we're going to go ahead and start on page 1 in this, which is where the locator key starts. And you're going to go ahead and look for number 534. I'm going to flip through here until I find it. So 534 is right down here. So it says, flowers very small, under a 1/4 inch wide or long. So we're going to go ahead and measure this and see if it's under a 1/4 inch. It's about 1/2 inch, so it's not going to fall into that category. So we're going to skip to the next option, which is flowers 1/4 or more inches wide or long. So first option is flowers not yellow. That's not true, so we're going to skip down here to yellow flowers. And basal or lowest leaves pinnately divided or lobed. leaves palmately divided or lobed. So these leaves, since all of the leaflets on this one divided leaf are coming off from a single point, that's palmately divided because it looks like the palm of your hand. Pinnately divided leaves look like this leaf here. So we're going to select that, and then we need to decide if we have leaflets 3 to 7 regularly toothed, leaf divisions deeply lobed or divided, or leaflets entire and notched at the tip. So if you look at these leaves right here, this is one whole leaf, and each of these is a leaflet. So those leaflets are 3 to 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're clearly regularly toothed. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to page 240. So now on page 240, we're going to see some descriptions. And if you read the description of the first one, it says Indian strawberry. Leaflets 3. Well, if you look at our flower here, we clearly have 5 leaflets, so we can immediately rule that out. So we're going to go to the next one, which says cinquefoils, or 5 fingers. So the leaflets here are 5 to 7, a palmate, except for 2 non-trailing species that have 3 leaflets. Some species have white or purple flowers, and one is a shrub. So that seems to fit this plant. It does have 5 leaflets, and they're palmate. Okay, so now we need to determine if we have 3 leaflets, 5 silvery white, 5 leaflets with silvery white underneath them, or 5 to 7 leaflets that are not silvery white beneath. So we're going to go ahead and look at the underside of the leaflet, and it looks pretty green to me. It is not silvery white, and we definitely have 5 leaflets. So we're going to go ahead and go to this section down here that says leaflets 5 to 7, not silvery white beneath. So now you're going to take a read of each section of each possible species and decide which one it is. So the first one, rough-rooted or sulfur cinquefoil, it says stout erect plant. Ours is definitely not an erect plant, so I think we can move on from that one. The next one is common cinquefoil, which says low, weak-stemmed plant, the 5 leaflets toothed for 3/4 of their length. Flowers 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch wide, growing on long stalks from the axils. 3 to 24 inches long, fields and open woods, spring and early summer. So we do have 5 leaflets with them being toothed about 3/4 of the way long. If you can see this toothing starts about here. It is early summer right now, and we did measure the flower, and it was about 1/2 inch. So I think this fits the description pretty well. If you read the next one, it says it's similar to the common cinquefoil, but the 5 leaflets are toothed only above the middle. And I do think that these are toothed 3/4 of the way rather than halfway. So I think that this plant is the common cinquefoil. And then right here, if you want to look at the image, it does look very similar to this. So I think that confirms it.